Hello there. Welcome. Today we are taking a look at the database editor that Ignacio Reda has made. Probably butchered that name, my apologies. But we are going to be taking a look at the database editor, and more specifically, we're going to be focusing on the save settings here. Basically, Ignacio has been nice enough here to add game difficulties to his editor that basically have an effect on how the AI develop, as well as a couple of other things here that you can toggle on and off. So let's just go through them one by one. I'm going to talk a little bit about what they do. And generally, if I would recommend you to play with these settings if you find the game to be currently a little bit too easy. And also I'm going to give some feedback to Red himself, probably in the Reddit thread. You can find the Reddit thread itself and the GitHub where he has uploaded it in the description. And honestly, big props to this guy. He's made an amazing editor. This isn't the only thing you can do with it. You can basically do everything. It does take a little bit of know-how to install it, but he has a really, really good tutorial on his page. So I would recommend you take a look at that if you are interested in, getting the editor for yourself to spice up your games a little bit. So let's first go through the save settings, which is basically what we are going to be focusing on. I'm going to also compare a couple of save games where I've had some settings on, some settings off. And basically that's why this video has taken so long. It's taken me a little bit of time over the last few days to kind of test this out proper. But yeah, let's talk the save settings here. Mentality. Basically, this setting straight up freezes the mentality and keeps it at neutral. Basically, toggling this disables the mentality system. Everyone is going to be neutral at any given time, and as a result, they'll neither have debuffs or buffs from the mentality system. And generally, since the mentality system is an easy way for the player to get some buffs, you can definitely toggle this off if you don't like the system or if you want to make the game a little bit harder for yourself. Mentality is definitely a system that benefits the player way more than it benefits the AI. Next up, refurbishing. Enabling it fixes the AI of refurbishing the facilities, even in low conditions. So basically, currently, the AI is really, really bad at refurbishing. And usually when you take over a new team, most of the facilities will be destroyed. Let's just put it like that. This basically forces the AI to refurbish their buildings, meaning that they get the mentality boost from having good buildings, meaning that they do get the benefits of those buildings. And as such, it's something that I would recommend you toggle on. Now, next up, we have the game difficulty here. And he's been nice enough to just make a slider here. And as you can see, reduce weight basically gives the AI lightweight parts. I haven't tested exactly how much lightweight each setting would be, but for the lightweight part setting that I tested, it was 8 kilograms. Basically locks the AI's parts as 8 kilograms, meaning that, well, at 8 kilograms total, you start with 20, the AI will go down to 8, and as such, they will be a lot quicker, just barely due to the fact that they are turning down their durability slider. Get an idea. Extra hard. Lightweight parts, more research boost, stat boost. Basically, this gives boost to the AI's research and the AI's development. Honestly, the extra hard difficulty is already a little bit overtuned, which I'll go into a little bit later. And as you can imagine, as you turn up these difficulties, you get additional boosts, like the boosts for research and stats get increased. They also get use less time to actually do their designs. Then we have unfair, large research boost, stat boost, design times reduced by 11%, and a factory level 4, which honestly would be good to give the AI anyways if you're planning to play with lightweight parts. And as you go up, you can see that they get the ultra lightweight parts, a massive research boost, bigger stat boost, and basically a lot of unfair advantages, I guess you could say. Now, the funny thing here is he's actually made it so you can pick and choose which boosts you want to have. So for instance, I can pick the impossible game difficulty here, but I can disable the research boost, the stat boost, the design times, the factory levels, the parts when design completed. Basically, you can choose and pick what you want. And this is where I would love to honestly have a bit more freedom in what I would like to pick and choose, because the ultra lightweight parts are amazing. Basically, this makes the AI do the same thing that the player does, and that is to put durability at 0%. And by putting your durability as low as possible, the player no longer has a huge advantage. And of course, I can imagine people will say that, oh, but you can just keep your parts of medium weight and you wouldn't have an advantage anyways. Well, not exactly, because the AI is very unpredictable. with how they go with weight. Sometimes they could drop down to 5 kilograms, sometimes they go up to 30. And simply locking the AI at 0 kilograms of extra weight makes them all equal. It also makes them all more competitive, easier to predict, and honestly, durability in its current form isn't really adding anything to the game, I feel. So I love this. But again, as I mentioned, I would love to have an option here to just pick exactly the difficulty that I want. And as I mentioned, the stat boost 0.5% is probably a little bit too high. And to kind of give you an idea of what I mean by this, let's just jump into a save and compare. So in the background here, I have a save game. This is my save from when I did the RB 1 season challenge. And as you can see, we're in third place with 64.8% expertise levels or performance levels, depending on how you want to look at it. Red Bulls is 69. Generally, this is how you would expect a team to develop. We definitely had a huge jump here. Then we continued that, and then we kind of petered out, kind of what you would expect. And it was the same for many of the other teams. We just petered out a little bit earlier. Now, if we take a save 124 here, which is a save where I tested out the extra hard difficulty, and we can actually check that. Save settings, extra hard. As you can see, lightweight parts, small research boost, stat boost of 0.5%. And with that, every single team, including Sauber, outperformed Red Bull from the standard setting in terms of development. And that's a little bit of a issue because, again, as I mentioned, this is a tad bit overtuned. I chose the exact same development path, which probably has been a little bit negative for. But as you can see, by the time we got to Hungary, we basically were or Belgium, if you want to say it like that. Actually, it's Baku. But basically, by the time we got there, we were the worst team on the field. And I started with a midfield team. So the AI is definitely overtuned for this. They're definitely going to give you a challenge. But the fact that the AI is reaching 88% over the course of a season is probably, as I mentioned, just a tad bit overtuned. I know that it's supposed to be extra hard, but this is really, really hard. Now imagine if I started with Sauber instead and was another 10-ish% below this line, it would be even ridiculous. This bottom line here is me at 64. 73 is what Sauber ended up at, and we have 88 for Red Bull. So as you can imagine, the development here is pretty insane already on just extra hard difficulty. Now, you might ask yourself, what does impossible difficulty look like? And honestly, I gave up because this is impossible difficulty. This is Miami. This is Miami, and this is me down here. And as you can see, on impossible difficulty, even Sauber has reached the 80 percentile, or 80% or so, by the time we reach Miami. As you can imagine, that is insane, and definitely not something you're going to be able to win at. Not to mention that the impossible difficulty also has big regulation change. There's no way you're catching up. You're definitely getting fired. The difference between this car and this car is so intense that we just don't have a chance to compete. And that is honestly kind of interesting. Now, this last example here is actually an interesting one, because for this one, I've gone ahead and didn't actually save it properly, I guess, but basically I've gone ahead and used ultra lightweight parts. I've basically done this. And what that has done is basically ensure that the AI all have 0 kilogram weight on their cars. We can actually have a look at that in game in a second. But basically, the AI has no extra weight. And what has happened here is straight up that we have stayed where we're supposed to be, 5th. We started 5th, we're still 5th. We're actually kind of getting overtaken it by Mercedes. Well, we didn't actually start 5th, we started 6th, I guess. But yeah, we're just barely overtaking Mercedes. Haas is catching up. Every team is really, really close to each other. And I do like this quite a lot. Again, just removing durability. And this already kind of shows you just what happens if you remove the durability aspect. Now, for this save, I made sure that I gave every team at least level 4 factory, just to make sure that they kept up in terms of parts. But yeah, that alone is pretty insane. And if we take a look at the save game itself, which is, I believe, what I'm up here, we're currently 3rd in the championship. We're 170-ish points between McLaren and Red Bull, who are fighting it out. And honestly, if we take a look now on weight, 0 kilograms for Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren, and they are actually slightly ahead, kind of what you would expect. And I do enjoy this. I would recommend everyone who wants to have fun with the game. Like, this doesn't make it super challenging, don't get me wrong. It doesn't have a tremendous effect on your enjoyment of the game, but it just makes the AI more competitive. And the way that I play this game, I'm gonna be honest, say 20, keeping everything in the middle, 20 kilograms, not using, the meta sliders. That is fun and all. That is a solution, but I want to try and push myself and try and do the min max and see how far I can get against an AI that actually gives me a bit of a challenge. And the ultralight pass is an insane good way of just getting that initial push, I have to say. Now, research-wise, I'm probably going to leap a little bit ahead of these teams, kind of what you would expect. But what I would really, really like to see is probably a little bit of a rebalancing of the difficulty here, because this stat boost is definitely a little bit too big. And as you can imagine, the research boost here, if you add that into next year, you're not going to be competing. You are going to get fired. Let's just be honest. So probably a little bit over the top, as you can imagine. It is a challenge for sure, don't get me wrong, but it's a little bit overtuned, and I would like to see that tuned down a little bit. And honestly, what I would love here is the ability to kind of make your own difficulty. I would love to have ultra lightweight parts. That would be amazing. Honestly, I would also love to just give everyone a level 4 factory with a click of a button. That too would be good. Plus 1 part when designed to just make sure the AI is actually using the new parts could also be good. Plus 2 might be a little bit overkill. But being able to pick, say, factory level 4, plus 1 part when designed, ultra lightweight parts, and maybe go a little bit back here and tune these research boosts and the stat boost a little bit lower to just give that AI a little bit of an edge. Because while this is amazing, like, I'm amazed at how this is set up. I'm going to have to probably message the creator, Ureta, and with the feedback, of course. But it's probably, as I mentioned, just a tad overtuned. Potentially. We'll have to see. Now, this is basically 4 or 5 save games that I've gone basically a season through. The research boost is also, as I mentioned, not really a concern at the moment, because, let's be perfectly honest, the development is just so high that you're not keeping up anyways. So the research isn't really going to have any effect. I'll have to test that out on its own, because honestly, I could of course do a save where I just to remove the stat boost, keep the research boost, test that out. I just haven't had time for that. If I want to do that, I would have to spend one more day, I guess. But yeah, this is amazing work, honestly. And I'll be posting my feedback probably a little bit later today. The Reddit thread, probably also send a direct message. But I love this. As mentioned, probably a little bit overtuned, but it has potential. And I love the work that's being put in here. It's very impressive. Now, also, while I'm at it, it did actually add something else to the game. Or not the game, per se, to the editor. And this is just this doesn't have anything to do with difficulties, but I thought it definitely deserves a mention. You can now make your own custom engines. And you can basically tune them as you see fit. If you want to make an absolute monster of an engine, you can. You can change the name. You can change your fuel efficiency, durability, ERS durability, all of these to make the engine as good or as bad as you want. And the only issue is that you're going to have to manually apply the engine that you make to a team. So if we make a test engine, let's just call it that. Custom engine, test. As you can see, it's in this list. You will not see it in the engine list here, unfortunately. But if you want to use this in the game, you are going to have to head to, I believe it is Teams, Ferrari, and let's just go to RB, since that's the team that we've been playing. The VCarb, there we go. And here you can switch it to test engine. So you're going to have to do this, unfortunately, to get that engine, but you can now make your own engine as you see fit, exactly how you want it, so to speak. And that in its own right is is pretty amazing. I'll be perfectly honest. I do love that. So the editor here is pretty amazing. It has far more flexibility than the online editor. It does require a little bit more work to get set up, but I'm definitely very, very happy with what I'm seeing. So let me know what you think. I think hopefully the difficulties can be tuned down a little bit, which is probably silly of me to say. But let's be honest, the impossible difficulty, again, does definitely live up to its name. This is basically a recipe to getting fired. So I do enjoy that. But also, as I mentioned here, while the extra hard difficulty is going to be fun for probably a season or so, after that, the AI is unfortunately just going to run away with it. So needs a little bit of tuning. And as I mentioned, I would absolutely love if we could pick and choose which settings we want from a bigger pool. I don't know if that's going to be a lot more work in terms of the coding, but I think that would be amazing. Yeah, that was it on the new difficulties. If you want to try this out, again, what I would recommend if you just want a little bit more oomph out of your AI is just to go impossible, toggle off anything that isn't ultra lightweight parts. Then you're ready. If you want a little bit more oomph from there, toggle these two on. I would really recommend that as well. And then you're kind of set to what I would probably call extra hard difficulty. Because the AI does actually lose a ton of performance from, that's the wrong save file, from just not having 0 kilogram parts. And you see it best here. Like again, the save where nothing happened, we are 64.83, the other cars are a little bit behind. And if we go back to that max weight, they aren't that far, they don't get that much of a boost, but it is a little bit of a boost. And that does actually have an effect. So once again, sorry, thank you for watching, hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you probably tomorrow. I'm hoping. I've spent a lot of time to test this out, and as I mentioned, I'm very hyped and kind of impressed with it. Let me know what you think. See you next time. Bye bye. Sorry for babbling on here for probably 3-4 minutes more than I needed. Have a good day.